Hey, Tiffany, Brian.
Good morning.
Give me 1 minute and we'll be ready to go.
Sounds good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing all right, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you doing?
If I was any better, I'd be you.
You don't know. You don't know the half of it.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We are on the record. And let me just do the introductory matters, and then I'll just turn it over to council to enter appearances. This is a session of the Commerce City Liquor Licensing Authority, a public hearing for a new license application. The public hearing was opened on, Ms. McGraw, do you have that date for you? Was the original date of the hearing, and I believe that was in, look at my calendar here, in November.
Your Honor, I want to say November 29th, but I would guess I'm about 75% certain of that date.
Actually, I think it was November 30th. Yeah, so the matter was called and public hearing opened on November 30th. Thank you, Mr. Swan. And applicant wasn't present on that date, was not represented, and so the licensing authority continued the matter, continued the public hearing, did not close out the public hearing, and reset the public hearing, the continued public hearing for today's date, which is January 24th, 2022. All right, can I have entries of appearance, please?
On behalf of the City of Commerce City, Your Honor, this is Assistant City Attorney Brian Swan, and my attorney registration number is 51394.
Thank you, Mr. Swan.
Good
For
morning,
the
Your
applicant.
Honor.
Morning.
My name is Brandon Sandberg. Attorney registration number is 42507 with the law firm of Dill, Carr, Stonebreaker, and Hutchings. I apologize for the mask, Your Honor. I've got a couple witnesses in my office, and being in Denver, we do have a mask mandate. So if you can't hear me, please let me know, and I'm happy to speak louder. Also present with me today on behalf of the applicant, my office is Jessica Carrillo. She is the district manager, and then Lucero Castoreno. That's the day-to-day operations manager. Mr. Sunshine is present virtually today. Thank you very much for letting him appear in that fashion. He will be present today and ready to answer any questions that the authority or the city attorney may have for him.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sandberg. And the mask is not a problem at all. It is the world we live in, and I can hear you just fine. So thank you for that. All right, so let me do my introduction piece, and then Mr. Sandberg, I'll turn it over to you for your presentation. This is a public hearing for the Liquor Licensing Authority of Commerce City to determine whether or not the beer and wine license application of GDLP Restaurant Group LLC doing business as Wingstop, located at 1675 Scenic Avenue, Suite 105, Commerce City, should be granted or denied. This hearing will be conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and local ordinances and procedures. The principal questions with which the authority will be concerned throughout the hearing relate to the character of the applicant, reasonable requirements of the neighborhood, the desires of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood, the number, type, and availability of alcohol beverage outlets located in or near the neighborhood under consideration, and any other pertinent matters affecting the qualifications of the applicant to conduct the type of business proposed. The designated neighborhood boundaries are contained in the authority's file. The applicant has a burden of satisfying the authority that issuance of the license is appropriate. All testimony will be given under oath. The secretary's official files, including all documents submitted prior to the hearing. I know the application was updated as well when Mr. Sandberg was hired, and all of those amendments have been submitted and are part of the record. And I will admit all of those documents into the record of the hearing. Any additional exhibits shall be marked for identification before being offered for admission into the record today. At the conclusion of the evidence and statements, I will close the public hearing and either make a decision or will continue the matter for written decision within 30 days. All right, Mr. Sandberg, why don't, you've already identified the two witnesses you have in your office. Mr. Sonnenschein is present virtually, as is Ms. Gerritsen. All of those witnesses, once you raise your right hand, I'm going to go ahead and swear everyone. If anyone's going to testify, raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. You hereby swear or affirm under penalty of perjury, the testimony you're about to give will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief. And you can just reply with an I do.
I do.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Sandberg, you can make your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, is the petitioning results, is that part of the record, or would you like those to be admitted?
It is actually, yeah, I've made that part of the record. We received that some time ago. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. With that, if I can please call Ms. Gerritsen with Liquor Professionals.
You may.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Gerritsen. How are you today?
I'm good. My parents will be attending. They will not be participating today. So, at my parents' house.
Not a problem. Thank you.
There's added pressure, Ms. Gerritsen.
I know. I know. He's right there. And so, yeah.
Right. Well, let's show off a little bit for him, okay? Ms. Gerritsen, if you could please introduce yourself to the authority.
Yes, sir. So for the record, my name is Eva Gerritsen. Last name is Garretson. I'm one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals doing business as Liquor Pros. We are located at 5515 Saddle Rock Place in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
And please describe the services that Liquor Professionals provides.
You bet. We are a professional survey company providing unbiased results, unguaranteed results to applicants of liquor and marijuana licenses throughout the entire state of Colorado.
Approximately how many petitions or surveys has Liquor Pros conducted?
Last year alone, we did over 500. So that kind of gives you an indication of where we're at these last couple of years. So it's been pretty crazy. So, but since 2009, we're getting close to almost 6,000.
And when you say you do not guarantee results, what does that mean?
That means we simply provide the survey. We do the coverage. We try and get as much coverage as possible inside the boundary area as provided by Ms. Tiffany McGraw, which is awesome. She is just awesome. Thank you very much. And we go out and perform the survey, and the results they get is what they get. So we do not guarantee that they will get any results that are beneficial to them getting their license, basically.
Can you please describe the process that Liquor Pros went through in this case and then discuss the results, please?
Yes, sir. So prior to the start of the survey, our circulators are briefed on the type of liquor license that is being applied for. In this case, it's a new beer and wine liquor license. This is important. That way we identify what type of liquor license this is. Some require more food requirements, others do not. In this case, it's just a beer and wine, which means there is no hard liquor that will be served on this establishment. Circulators have with them the city approved petition survey packet along with a map, proposed location. They also have a cover sheet that has the hearing information, the applicant, the license type, any of that information. They carry with them both a business and residential petition packet. Business packets also have a spot where they have to identify themselves as a business owner or a manager. So we asked them to identify themselves as such. We also have on our petition packets a spot where they can write in why they are in favor or opposed to this particular license. With this particular area, not a whole lot inside of there. It just cut off of the residential down at the bottom and up on the north east quadrant up there, and the apartments down in there are still being construction. Those have been under construction for quite a while. So we did think that we had access to those, but when we went back, yeah, those are still not accessible. There was one household there off to the side, but it did have a gate up. So we didn't try and, you know, if they have gates or private property or do not solicit, we try and respect that, especially now during this period of time during a pandemic. We did, however, contact all the rest of the business areas inside the boundary, obtaining a total of 29 signatures. All 29 were from business owners and managers. The business owners and managers once again identified themselves, but all 29 signed in favor at 100%. So the fact that they all were in favor of the liquor shows that there's a support for businesses trying to come back out of COVID, I guess, is what we're seeing a lot of. So given these results at 100% still shows a need and desire, and that the existing outlets have not yet met the needs and desires.
Thank you, Ms. Garrettson. I have no further questions. If Your Honor or Mr. Swan have any questions for Ms. Garrettson.
Mr. Swan?
I have no questions for Ms. Garrettson today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. Thank you.
Ms. Garrison, I don't have any questions either. I have I received the report that you completed November 17th, 2021. That's part of the record. So thank you again for your thoroughness.
Oh, you're welcome.
With that, Your Honor, I'd like to call Jessica Carrillo, please.
All right.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica Carrillo. I'm the district manager for GDLP Colorado. Hi, everyone.
Ms. Carrillo, you mentioned that you were the district manager. Please describe what that means.
I'm in charge of all the daily operations and communication with my day-to-day managers. I make sure that all the requires are met on the daily basis.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sandberg, I'm going to have her spell her first and last name just for the record, please.
Jessica, it's Yesika, Carrillo, Carrillo.
Thank you.
Ms. Carrillo, as the district manager, how many locations do you oversee?
At the moment, I oversee 5.
And are all of those locations, they're owned by the applicant GDLP, is that correct?
That is correct.
And does GDLP have the all stores within the state of Colorado?
Yes,
Okay, current and future locations?
yes.
And what are some of your duties and responsibilities as the district manager that oversees locations in Colorado?
Mr. Sandberg, I'm having a problem with the audio. Sometimes I can hear you sometimes clearly, and then I can hear her, and other times I can't hear your question.
Okay, my apologies.
No, that's all right.
Ms. Carrillo, what are your current duties and responsibilities as the district manager?
I oversee all the locations and make sure that training and policies are followed on the daily basis.
And does each one of the locations that you oversee have a day-to-day manager?
Yes, that is correct.
And is that true for this location in Commerce City?
Yes, it is.
How often are you in the stores?
Twice a week
How often are you in communication with your day-to-day managers?
on the daily basis.
I want to talk a little bit about your background. What is your experience in the hospitality and restaurant industry?
I've been working for the restaurants with a liquor license for 5 years. I was running South County as a district manager for Wingstop. And before that, I was working for El Pollo Loco for about 15 years.
So you have approximately 20 years in the restaurant industry?
That is correct.
In the 5 years working at other Wingstop locations, did those locations have liquor licenses?
Yes, we did.
Did you have
Brian,
any?
I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but I'm having a really hard time hearing Mr. Sandberg's questions. Ms. Cerrillo, I can hear fine, but for whatever reason, Mr. Sandberg, I'm just struggling to hear you.
Yeah, and
My
I don't know. I mean, you're both talking into the same laptop or
Yeah.
computer, I'm assuming. So for some reason, Mr. Sandberg, your questions are really garbled and hard to discern, and hers are clear. So it might be that the pace is too fast, and maybe the computer just isn't able to keep up and differentiate. So maybe slow down the questions a bit. Let's see if that helps.
Understood. We can try and pause in between my questions and her responses to see if that might help.
Yeah, and that we heard you just fine right there. So
Perfect. So Ms. Creo, you have approximately 20 years in the restaurant industry, is that correct?
Correct,
And you do have experience with liquor licenses, correct?
correct.
You've never had any violations at any of the locations with liquor licenses.
Any violations, that's correct.
Let's talk a little bit about Wingstop. For those that have not gone to a Wingstop before, describe the concept.
It is a family environment. We serve wings. It's a simple concept and menu. We have 11 flavors. We made all our dressings from scratch. And it's just a family concept.
And at this location, you were requesting a beer and wine liquor license, is that right?
That is correct.
Would food be available at all times that beer and wine is offered?
Yes, it will.
Is the beer and wine going to be a large percentage of the revenue, or is it just complimentary?
It's just complimentary.
And do other locations in Colorado currently have beer and wine liquor licenses or in the process of obtaining those licenses?
That is correct.
Is it important to have consistency in offerings at different locations?
Yes, just to have the, when it comes to the menu, we offer the same menu to all the locations.
Can you please describe what the beer and wine offerings would look like at service?
It will be only a bottle beer,
Approximately how many varieties of beer?
8 different brands.
8 different brands?
Mhm.
And describe how the alcohol service would occur.
It will be 2 beers per person. You have to purchase food to be able to sell beer. And we will be ID every single person that comes to this location. And we will not serve if you look intoxicated.
Let's talk a little bit about your employees. Approximately how many employees do you have at this location?
Currently, we have 27.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
And did you-
she needs to repeat that. I couldn't hear her.
We currently have 27 employees.
Okay, thank you.
And did you recently open as well?
Yes, we opened on the 14th.
January 14th?
Yes.
And out of the 27 employees, approximately how many of those are in some sort of management position?
We have 5. One is the general manager. 4 of them are chef leads.
Will there always be a member of the management team that's on duty?
Always.
And are you constantly available?
Yes, all the time.
Can you please describe the training that our employees go through, giving specific attention to the sale and service of alcohol, please?
We have a group of training coming from California and give them and provide them.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm gonna have you start all over. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
We have a group of trainers coming from California, give them and providing training on the daily basis. Cashiers receive a 3 days training. Managers is 6-week training, and that's including proper procedures and policies in places.
So the training includes having trainers from California come to the location.
That is correct.
Is that going to occur at this Commerce City location?
Yes, it's currently happening.
It's currently happening. Describe some of the training that your staff receives regarding alcohol.
We have policies in place, and before even we fill out paperwork, they sign the whole policy and they're aware of our policies when it comes to alcohol.
So you have a written policy that's in place.
Yes, it is.
Does that describe all of the policies and procedures regarding alcohol service?
That is correct.
I'm sorry, sir, can you restate that question? I was garbled.
Does the written policy include information regarding our alcohol policies and procedures?
Yes, that is correct.
Let's talk about some of those policies and procedures. You had previously mentioned the sale of alcohol has to include food. Can you please describe that further?
For you to be able to purchase a beer, you have to purchase food.
And is there a maximum number of alcoholic beverages that can be served to any customer?
Will be two.
Please describe what your ID policies are.
We don't take any vertical ID.
No vertical IDs? And who do you ask identification from?
All of them.
So every person, we don't have an age requirement?
We don't.
Are there any sort of reminders that you provide to your staff regarding the alcohol policies and procedures?
We do inclusive meetings and remind that I'll follow all policies, including alcohol beverages.
What were to happen if you had a customer that came in with a questionable ID? What is the employee supposed to do?
We'll check with the manager and we just refuse to sell that.
Do you have a one ID, one drink policy? Meaning if I go in with my wife and order 2 beers and I just show you my ID, does that work?
No,
Okay, what would be required?
it's one ID, one person.
So each person ordering a alcoholic beverage would need to show you their identification.
That is correct.
And are we a zero tolerance employer? Meaning if we have an employee that sells to a visibly intoxicated person or to a minor, would that person be terminated?
That is correct. We have zero tolerance.
And is that included within your written policies and procedures?
It is.
And that's something that our employees sign an acknowledgement form.
That is
right?
correct.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the layout. Does Mr. Swan and Your Honor have a copy of the layout?
I do have a copy of that diagram.
I have that as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Creo, I am showing you a diagram here, and if we are looking at it, in this section here, where at the top it says Wingstop, can you please walk through the layout so the hearing officer knows what to look for when she goes in?
Well, this is the entrance from the back door. If you want to go to the front, that will be the other side. It will be upside down. So on dining area, on your right-hand side, there's 6 tables. On your left-hand side, there's going to be 3 registers. There's a little door, which is the entrance of the team members. And the left-hand side, there's a little fridge that we want to maintain all our beer storage that has not access to the public. And if you
Ma'am, I'm going to have you just repeat that. I'm sorry, Ms. Carrillo. It's kind of garbled. You talked about the entrance, the 6 tables, the
right-hand side.
entrance area, right? So once you start at the point you were talking about storage.
Okay, I was talking about when you enter, there's a little door behind the 3 registers.
Okay.
It has no access to the public. It will be a little refrigerator we call the beer cooler. And there's where all the beer is gonna be storage. And it will have no access for the public whatsoever. Going back, there's the cooking area. There's the storage shelf. There's the 3-compartment sink area. And all of this area has no access to the public.
So if I were to purchase a beer, do I do that at the point of sales counter?
Yes, sir.
And the beer is kept behind that counter, is that right?
That is correct.
And so the customers do not have direct access to the beer.
It doesn't.
Does this location have security cameras?
Yes, we do.
And are those monitored?
Yes.
If you could please describe the days of operation as well as our hours.
We open at 10:30 and we close at midnight.
And we have food that's available at all times that we're selling and serving alcohol. Is that
That is
correct?
correct.
Ms. Carrillo, can you restate those hours of operation and the times? I couldn't hear you.
We open 10:30 and we close at midnight.
And that's Monday through Sunday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
I have no further questions for Ms. Carrillo. If Your Honor, Mr. Swan have any questions, she is available.
All right, thank you. I do have some questions, but Mr. Swan, I'm going to turn it over to you first.
Yeah, I have a few brief questions. Thanks for your thorough answers there, Ms. Surreal. First of all, I wanted to ask about this training firm or group of people that comes out from California to perform these trainings. do they train specifically on state and local laws and rules of procedure in addition to whatever like company-wide policies and practices you have?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and have you yourself personally reviewed the pertinent sections of Chapter 8 of the Commerce City Municipal Code pertaining to the sale of alcoholic beverages?
Yes, I did.
And have you also reviewed the Commerce City Local Liquor Licensing Authority Rules of Procedure as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your Honor, I think that's all I have for Ms. Surya. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, I do have a few quick questions. The testimony, although the application is for beer and wine license, based on the testimony, it sounds like only beer will be available for purchase. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now I want to just go back to the diagram. I understand there's a beer cooler kind of behind the point of sale counter where the registers are.
Yes.
Is there also beer stored then in the walk-in cooler down by the janitor area for overflow, where all of the beer in this establishment is in that one cooler?
Yes.
Okay. And is that locked at the close of business at midnight?
No.
Okay. All right. All right, that's my question about that. Let me look at my notes. I think I had another. Have any of the employees yet, or have yourself completed the state of Colorado responsible server training?
I did.
You did. All right. Do you know if any of your employees have done that?
No.
And is the intent of the company to require that of the employees?
Not at the moment.
All right. In many restaurants, there are some employees who are designated to work in the kitchen only, some designated to work the counter. Are there certain employees that will not be involved in the sale and service of alcohol?
Yes, they will.
Okay, so there are only certain employees who will be working the registers and IDing and selling and serving that beer. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. Is the business open at this point?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I have the same question that Mr. Swan had regarding the training of the folks from California. Do you have in the store, will you have an ID scanner? Some establishments have an ID scanner where they actually scan the ID. Or will
We
your
don't.
employees just, so your employees will be looking at the ID and looking at the date of birth, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. I don't think I have any other questions. Mr. Sandberg, you're certainly welcome to follow up on any of the questions myself or Mr. Swan asked.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And then I've been told that I think if I sit more in the middle, you might be able to pick me up better. So if we can please switch out Ms. Carrillo, thank you so much. Next, I'd like to call Lucero Castoreno, very briefly, just to discuss some of her background. If you can please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name is Lucero Castorena. My first name spelled Lucero, last name Castorena.
And are you the day-to-day manager for this location?
Yes, that's correct.
How long have you been with Wingstop, either this applicant or previous franchisees?
I've been working for Wingstop about almost 2 years in September.
What are some of the different roles that you have had with Wingstop?
I started as a cook and then worked my way up to a manager.
Have you worked at locations that have liquor licenses previously?
Yes.
Have you had any violations?
No.
And are you in daily communication with Ms. Carrillo?
Yes.
And are you aware of the policies and procedures regarding the sale and service of alcohol?
Yes.
And will you make sure that you comply with your company's policies and procedures as well as the state requirements?
Yes.
I have no further questions, but I open the witness up to the hearing officer and to the city attorney.
All right, Mr. Swan?
No questions from the city. Thank you.
All right. I don't have any specific questions other than can you spell your last name again? I didn't get all of that. I got C-A-S-T.
Castorena.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. All right, Mr. Sandberg, your next witness.
I have no further witnesses. We do have Mr. Sonnenschein that is present though and is available for any questions that the city attorney or your honor may have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Swan, do you have any questions of the applicant, for Mr. Sunshine?
Your Honor, based on the testimony of Ms. Cerrillo and Ms. Castorena, I don't actually today, but I appreciate his appearance.
All right, thank you. I do have questions, so let me grab the application. And some of these, Mr. Sandberg, you might need to answer because these relate to the changes on the application, which I'm assuming you and your office completed on behalf of GDLP. Let's see here. So on the original application submitted, the landlord is listed as TTRG Commerce City Company LLC, and then it's changed to CPP Creekside of Colfax LLC, which,
I can address that.
yeah, sir, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, the property was sold right
Okay.
before we opened the property.
All right, that makes sense. And so the current owner, and this is, and actually it looks like the date of the lease changed significantly, is Creekside of Colfax. Is that the current owner then?
I believe so. I'd have to check the exact name, but that
Okay.
sounds right.
Okay, so the lease is extended until March of 2025. Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but that sounds right.
all right. And so I guess I'd like a little bit of background about the ownership. So Far West Services LLC, so you're the managing member of 100% owner.
No, I'm,
Okay, well, that's,
yeah,
that, I guess that's what I'm confused about, because I've got this other LLC and then I have the LLC GDLP, and frankly, I'm not exactly sure. The applicant is listed as GDLP Restaurant Group LLC, but then there's information about Far West Services. So why don't you educate me about that distinction?
sure. So I can just back up in time just to give you the history. I started this business in 2003 with no restaurants in California. And we're currently at 81 restaurants in California, Colorado, Nevada, and Washington. There were two businesses that I started, Far West Restaurant Group and Milton Restaurant Group. Far West was for California, Milton was for Nevada. I sold those businesses to a private equity firm in 2019. And then we've expanded into Washington and Colorado. And each time we expanded, we set up a new entity. All of those entities are wholly owned subsidiaries of Far West Services. I'm the president and CEO. I own personally 13% of the business. The rest of my family owns 7%, and the remaining 80% is owned by several different funds of the private equity firm. Those are the ultimate owners of all of those entities. GDLP is the entity that we created for Colorado specifically, and it is a wholly owned subsidiary of Far West Services. And then above Far West Services are a couple of holding companies. The ultimate owners are the private equity funds, me, and the rest of my family.
All right.
I know it took me a while to understand it too.
Yeah, I can't say that I do, frankly, but that is helpful. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. All right.
But the constant, for the last 15, 16 years has been me And we also have on the call, it's showing up as S. Brady, but is our head of operations, who's he and I have worked together since restaurant number 1.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the management's been the same.
All right, sounds good. And it's GDLP Restaurant Group LLC that is sole owner of all the restaurants in Colorado, all the Wingstop restaurants in Colorado.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's helpful, sir. Thank you. And then the investment, it looks like the investment amount was changed from, I think it was 6.7 million down to 500,000. That's a correct number then?
Yeah, that's the number for this specific restaurant. I think that prior number was when it was related to an acquisition of some units in Colorado. It's just not the right number. And it's not, it's not exactly 500,000. It's probably, I don't have the number in front of me, 520 or 5. I could give you the specific number. It's roughly 500,000.
All right, thank you. All right, let's see here. If I have any other questions, I made some notes when I reviewed the application and then the amended application. And do you own any other restaurants in the state of Colorado, sir? Just these?
No.
Okay, all right.
I mean, well, GDLP owns, this is our 7th location in Colorado.
Okay.
So we own currently 6 other Wingstops. And
All
we
right.
have 9 additional locations in various stages of development that all should open before the end of Q2.
Okay, all right. And any of those other establishments in Colorado, have there been any liquor license violations
No.
of those? And my guess is those are probably in process, probably not many have actual liquor license in hand at this point.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of the ones we acquired where we actually have the licenses,
Okay.
but there have been no violations.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Mr. Swan, any questions of Mr. Sonnenschein?
I do not have any questions for this witness, Your Honor. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right. And I noted that Mr. Swan had no questions of, or no official presentation. I would like to open it to any adult inhabitants, business owner in the designated neighborhood. This is a public hearing, and notice of the virtual link for the public hearing was posted on the city's website. I don't see anyone who has appeared on the virtual session. Ms. McGraw, have you been notified by any member of that designated neighborhood who wish to appear in favor of or in opposition to the application for the beer wine license?
No, I haven't received anything.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Sandberg, did you want to make closing arguments, sir?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. We do thank you very much for your time. We understand we recently went virtual, but thank you for allowing Mr. Sonnenschein to appear virtually from California. We do appreciate that courtesy. I do believe that we have shown the needs and desires to support the issuance of this beer and wine license. There are 29 signatures in favor, 100% are in favor of the issuance of this license. Ms. Gerritsen gave background regarding the numbers, where those numbers came from, and in her experience of doing approximately 6,000 of these, she does believe that it supports needs and desires. We have shown that we are a good corporate citizen. We do have the appropriate policies and procedures in place, not only regarding training, but also the sale and service of alcohol. You did hear from the district manager and the day-to-day operations manager for this location. They do have sufficient background. They do have the appropriate policies and procedures in place, and do believe that they have demonstrated that they will be safe and responsible sellers and servers of alcohol. So with that, we would like to thank you for your time, and we would respectfully request the issuance of the license. And I do want to thank Ms. McGraw for all of her help. She's been fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Swan?
Very, very briefly, Your Honor, the city would have no objection to the issuance of a beer and wine license for Wingstop, for many of the reasons that Mr. Sandberg brought up in his closing. I'm satisfied that the reasonable desires of the neighborhood, or the reasonable needs in the neighborhood, and the needs and desires of the residents who live and work in the surrounding neighborhood have no issues with Wingstop receiving a license to sell beer along with its regular food menu, and based on the testimony of Ms. Cerrillo, and Ms. Castorano, I have no issues about the character and fitness and the qualifications of this applicant to run this business successfully and to sell alcohol, specifically beer, in compliance with the applicable state and local laws. So city has no objection to issuance of the license requested today. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Swan. All right, I prior to the hearing, I reviewed the application and then the amendments to the application. I also reviewed the report of Liquor Pros completed by Ms. Garrettson based on the surveying that they completed, and that was in November of 2021. I will also note Ms. McGraw, she completed the preliminary findings, and that was submitted to the applicant at least 5 days prior to the hearing. And I've reviewed that, and all of that is accurate and pursuant and is as required by Title 44 of the Colorado Revised Statutes regarding liquor licensing matters in the state of Colorado. I do find that the application, together with all the submissions and the evidence presented today through the testimony of the witnesses, including Mr. Sonnenschein, supports that the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood desire the issuance of this beer wine license. The reasonable requirements of the neighborhood for the type of license being sought are not currently met. The number, type, and availability of liquor outlets located in or near the neighborhood do not preclude the issuance of this license. I will comment that the neighborhood, designated neighborhood, is a little bit unusual, and that there isn't at this point any, there's very little residential. In fact, Ms. Garrettson testified that there are apartment buildings under construction, and they've been under construction for some time. And because of that, it was businesses that were surveyed, because that is basically what is contained within that designated neighborhood. And those signatures were 100% in favor of issuance of this beer wine license. All other statutory requirements and ordinance requirements have been met. And I do find that the applicant at this time is qualified to conduct the type of business proposed. I will therefore go ahead and grant the application for the beer wine license. Condition on inspection by the police department, just the liquor licensing officers, just ensure that the premises is as represented in the diagram that was submitted with the application. I am going to order that Ms. Carrillo, actually, Ms. Carrillo testified that she did complete the responsible server training of the State Liquor Enforcement Division. I am going to order that all of the lead employees do the same, and any other employee involved in the sale or service of alcohol complete that training within 60 days of the issuance of the license. Any new employee in the next 1 year period that meets those classifications would need to complete that training within 90 days of the hire date. Those certificates of training, just copies of those to Ms. McGraw, so we have those in the file. And in watching the State Liquor Enforcement Division, as I understand it, it looks like a lot of those trainings are now available online, which makes it certainly easier for folks with schedules, etc. So I will go ahead and issue written findings, but those are my findings. Any questions, Mr. Sandberg or Mr. Sonnenschein, regarding my order?
No, I was just going to say, we'll absolutely do those conditions. And I just wanted to thank everybody that helped out with this. Ultimately, this is to help our business. So thank you very much for everybody on the calls, time and effort for this. And I appreciate what everybody's done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sandberg, anything further from you?
No, thank you very much for your time. It was nice to see you again.
All right, thank you. You as well. Mr. Swan, anything further from you?
Nothing from the city. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I do want to appreciate and thank everybody for changing course very last minute. Things arose last week that just necessitated us going ahead and doing this completely virtual. So, Mr. Sonnenschein, I'm glad you didn't get to Colorado and then get the news that we were going virtual. It's a moving target day to day in this world right now. So, and probably will be for quite some time. So I appreciate everybody's flexibility and ability to work with us. Ms. McGraw, thank you for getting all this set up. And I echo Mr. Sandberg's comments. You do a great job for us, so I appreciate it very much. All right, folks, Ms. Garrison, thank you as well. Stay safe out there. I'm going to close the public hearing and go ahead and be in recess. Thanks, folks. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.